Welcome back, baseball fans, and today we will be eliminating the Kansas City Royals. It was predictable, even though the last game was a Kansas City win, it was a gentleman's sweep as the series went back to Baltimore and Mike Cuellar shut out the Royals in Game 5, ending their season. No tears are shed for the Royals, though. They've had a nice little run. And we're going to be looking at stats from this year and last year, but unlike previous videos, I'll start with this year's, and then I'll show you last year's, just to see how much baseball this team has played. They've played a lot of baseball games in these 2 years, so they know a lot about themselves. And a lot of the storylines from the Royals games really do come through in the stats. Let's start with Bob Johnson. He had a great year in 1970, and he was 9-5 this year, and the innings pitch showed that he was the workhorse, and he finished with a 3.20 ERA and a .125 WHIP, right on target. This was a successful team. The lone all-star was Jim Rooker, and anytime I have a long reliever in the all-star game, I always question that. But Rooker did not disappoint because he brought consistency through the entire regular season, all-star game, postseason, and playoffs. 32 innings with a .169 ERA, 88-cent WHIP. It's because Jim Rooker's a starting pitcher. He's a starter 7, and they used the calculated gamble of putting Charlie Leibrandt in the rotation as the number 3 starter, figuring that Jim Rooker would be more valuable put into more matchup game-deciding situations in the bullpen. So that's why that happened. Now, with Leibrandt leaving this team, Rooker will then assume the number 3 hole in the rotation, and then they'll find another lefty reliever to take his spot. Aside from that, you see Quisenberry was the beneficiary, 10 vulture saves, the beneficiary of Rooker, by getting 10 saves with a .504 ERA. Offensively, Amos Otis, that was his 1970 card. We debuted Patek, who did, Freddie Patek stuff. 15 stolen bases, but only a .247 batting average. Pat Kelly had 26 stolen bases, but he only had .232. There really wasn't a particular failure here that's worth noting. They just had a bunch of .270 hitters on their team, and when you see me take the card set apart, it'll all make sense. But let's go back to last year now, because it's been a 2-year run. I want to kind of take a look at last year's cards. And so last year, they were eliminated in the divisional round as well, and that was by the Detroit Tigers, who won the World Series. That should bode well for the Orioles if it follows suit that Kansas City's season ends at the hands of the world champs. So let's do a comparison from last year. Similar record, 24-17, a little bit better last year. Batting average is a little bit lower. ERA was a lot lower. Bob Johnson was his same good self, 7-4. Quisenberry had 8 saves, but look at that ERA again, 6.45. So he needs some setup help to get those vulture saves. Last year, the lefty in the bullpen was Steve Howe. Didn't have him this year. Offensively, Brett had that brilliant 83 card, and he tore it up with a 3.16 average, 13 homers, and 36. So once that Brett card was removed and replaced with a 284 Brett card, the Kansas City offense kind of pittered out a little bit. And I can't think of any. Amos Otis's first year, last year with that 1970 card, he only had 267. So, with that, doing the comparison, this team has played, 2751, 92 games in 2 years. That's a lot of baseball for a team who was an expansion team in 1969. So, and they won the Commissioner Award this year, which means they get an extra draft choice for best utilization of bench and bullpen. So now let's take a magnifying glass, microscopic, whatever you want to say. Let's look under the microscope and see what is up with this Kansas City team. Here's the ace, Bob Johnson, and he's done it for 2 years. His stats are a 3.07 ERA in over 200 innings, but he was 8-13 on a lousy team. And when you look closely at this card, what comes out to me are the strikeouts versus right-handed batters. I mean, that's Nolan Ryan country right there. That's outstanding. And he's a starter 8. He'll come back next year. Heedland was a brilliant rookie. 15-game winner on the rotation. He comes back next year. Charlie Leibrandt, no. He will leave, and that's a good thing. And Rooker will take his spot. That's a good thing. Mo Grabowski will come back. That's a good thing. Frank DePino, situational lefty, no big loss. Kirkpatrick, versatile player, plays all over the place. He played catcher most of this year, where he's terrible. His ideal spot would be left field, where he's a 3-E2. That's where you want to play him if you can. Ken Phelps, a platoon slugger. He really didn't do that much. Onyx Concepcion, actually, I got to give this card props. This card batted third all year against right-handed pitching for this team because they had nobody better than this, which says a whole lot as far as mediocrity goes. This would be, yeah, Onyx Concepcion's best year. He hit 282 in half a season. Couldn't hit left-handed pitching very well, and he was just a journeyman middle infield defensive guy. But got him to the divisional series along with all these other guys. Patek, would you believe this card gets you the number 6 in the MVP voting in 1971? This Pat Kelly card, double-A Steeler, and he stole a lot of bases. Piniella, his rookie card, 282. His batting average suffered because he played a lot against right-handed pitching when he's actually much better against left-handed pitching. Here's Amos Otis' first big year in Kansas City. It's only going to get better for this guy. Long career here in Kansas City, just getting started. And again, here's Brett with his worst year in that era. 83 he was good, 85 he was good, not here. Most people will take a 284 average. George Brett probably wouldn't have taken that. Bob Oliver kind of swooned. He had like 3 home runs on YouTube Kansas City games, but he disappointed. Swoboda's coming back. Frank White, the Royals are going to lose a Gold Glove second baseman to retirement. And Bruce Bochy wasn't even on Kansas City. He played for the Padres, but he was just a waiver pickup. And then there's Quisenberry, who was always good from 80 to 84. ERA at 260. There you go. So, next question you have to ask. Any of these 8 guys available in 72? Quisenberry, no. Bochy, probably not. White, Brett, Concepcion, Phelps, DePeno, Leibrandt, no. So all 8 of those will be retired. And now you have to build a team. And they're not quite where they need to be as far as that mid-70s Kansas City American League West championship team was. Because we're not at the era of Dennis Leonard and Al Cowens. And see who else is on that team. Well, Frank White, who's obviously gone. John Wathan, Larry Gura. That era is not quite yet. It's going to take a little bit. So let's see what is here. All right, here's your offense. You got 7 hitters. Kirkpatrick. Well, let's start with where we finished last year. He was catching, so let's leave him there for the moment. Oliver at first. No second or third baseman. Patek at short. And you have Kelly can play left center. Or you can put Piniella. That could be your outfield. Piniella, Otis, and Kelly. But you also have Swoboda. You might want to move some of these guys now. Now that you've kind of overachieved, I would say let's deal Swoboda. You don't need him. You might even want to think of dealing Piniella. I mean, we know Piniella will play for the Yankees. We know Pat Kelly will play for the White Sox at a certain point. You know, there. I don't see what you would call a nucleus here. The only card here that would be part, well, two guys, Podtek and Otis. So let's see what the pitching looks like. There's Johnson, Bunker, Rooker, Heedland. So congratulations. You got a 4-man rotation. You are ready to rock and roll with that starting pitching right there. You're actually going to be improved because Rooker now is going to take Liebrand's spot. And Mojo is definitely a start in that bullpen. Definitely a start. Plus he's a relief 3. But you do need 2 lefties. And 2 lefties in the bullpen. And offensively, it's a jigsaw puzzle. Looks like you need a third baseman to replace Brett. We know about, and a second baseman. So second and third and a bullpen. Let's see what Kansas City can get. Okay, here are your Kansas City Royals in need of a second baseman, third baseman, and a bullpen. And again, this team is playing with house money. As far as that 1969 expansion goes, this team was obviously the most successful and did the best job of developing a team when you compare it to what the Padres did and what the Expos did with the Seattle Pilots, etc. This team, Kansas City, did the best job. And let's see what's available in 1972. So John Mayberry has the highest WAR, and he had a fine year, and he can be your first baseman. And you might want to think of moving Bob Oliver out, because obviously you want Mayberry to be your first baseman throughout the 1970s. So it looks like Bob Oliver could be available in a trade. Roger Nelson, if he can play in pitching relief, we could use him. There's Podtek. Piniella's still here. And Kirkpatrick's still here. Splittorff, believe it or not, was taken in the expansion by Toronto. So that will be a disappointment for Kansas City not to have this crafty lefty available. There's Amos Otis. Dick Drago is also on Colorado Rockies. Richie Scheinblum, I know he has a great year in 74, switch hitter. And there's Cookie Rojas. We talked about a second baseman, so this could be the call-up here. Also, Paul Shaw has some good years at third base to precede George Brett. So, Mayberry makes a lot of sense. Rojas, if you want to go with a 261 hitter, makes some sense as well. Paul Shaw, not a good year this particular year, but there should be a good Paul Shaw card somewhere in here in one of these years. We talked about Roger Nelson, and he has a 2.08 ERA, and his WHIP is 87 cents. My goodness, get this guy. You don't have room in your rotation. He started 19 out of 34 appearances, 173 innings. And an interesting twist, he could go into the bullpen and take Jim Rooker's role. And Jim Rooker was in the bullpen, and he goes in the rotation. So that's what I would do. This Nelson card you should take. Nelson and Mayberry. And let's keep going. Boy, I really like building this Kansas City team. It's all right in front of you. So 71 Royals, the third year of the existence, was the best year in this sample. They won 85 games, finishing in second. Bob Lemon was the manager, who also managed the Yankees. So you have Amos Otis, of course. There's Paul Shaw. I think that'll be it. The card will take Drago. You can't have him, but Podtek's still around. There's Cookie Rojas again. Heedland you already have. Bergmeyer is on the Florida Marlins, part of the expansion, and Splittorff we know is gone. Gail Hopkins is currently on the White Sox. Jim York, I think he's a right-hander though. So let's see here. This Cookie Rojas hits 300. How about a 300 hitting second baseman to replace Frank White? So now you got Mayberry, you got Rojas, you had this Roger Nelson guy. I mean, it could very well be that Kansas City starts winning the American League West or the American League Midwest more regularly. This is some good talent. Paul Shaw always had a good on base. 103 walks. Wow. So I'm already thinking Rojas and Shaw from this year. I don't see a pitcher to add from this era. And so I've seen 4 good players already, and we're only halfway through. Let's go back to 1970. And there's our guy. That's Bob Johnson with a pirate hat on. Let's take a look at him, because we've talked so much about this guy. Bob Johnson, he was with the Mets, Royals, Pirates. His best year was the year we've been playing, the 1970 year. And then he had 2 more years with the Pirates before it started to fizzle. Interesting. Very interesting. Otis. Here's Bob Oliver, but again, unless he can move out of first base, you would prefer Mayberry to take his roster spot. There's Kirkpatrick and Rooker. No Dick Drago, you don't get him. Joe Keogh maybe. Shaw again. Severson. Yeah, we want to think about lefties, left-handed pitching if we can. Bill Butler. He's a starter though, so that's going to be a problem. And now let's go back to 69, where it'll really start to fizzle here finally. The expansion team. So Wally Bunker, we have him. Nelson, we're going to get him in someplace else. Kirkpatrick, we got him. Drabowski's here. Mike Fiorio, we'll take a look at him. We have Pat Kelly and we have Jim Rooker. There's Piniella. Heelan will have. Joe Foy is with the Mets. And there's Bill Butler again. So let's look at pitching. We're pretty happy with the offense. My goodness, we're going to have John Mayberry, Cookie Rojas, and Paul Shaw joining Freddie Patek in the infield. That'll be a pretty good infield there. You got 4 outfielders. They could use a catcher, I suppose. Ellie Rodriguez is not available. Buck Martinez, but he's not very good yet. In the bullpen, Bill Butler is still a starting pitcher, not a reliever. So the only thing to look for is lefties in the bullpen for Kansas City. Looks like we can actually build a pretty good offense for the Kansas City Royals moving forward. And they're going to be in the same division, the American League Midwest, with the Minnesota Twins. We know the Twins are going to be good for the next 2 years because the Twins won the 1969 and 1970 American League West. And the Twins are fortunate enough not to be in the same division with the Oakland A's. So it looks like the Twins and Royals will have a nice little rivalry for the next couple of years, while the White Sox and Milwaukee Brewers continue to struggle. So that has been your review of the Kansas City Royals. Hope you enjoyed the video and all these other elimination videos in addition to the games. And thanks for checking them all out. We'll see you again next time.